Last night was beautiful, man, especially for me as a Knicks fan. I love seeing my team handle business and not having me stressed in the fourth quarter, wondering if we're going to pull out this game and win or not. Kind of how I was feeling against Charlotte the other night, or the other day, rather. But last night was still exciting. We had Victor Wembanyama go off for a triple-double, another incredible performance from Giannis Antetokounmpo. We had some high-scoring games like the Grizzlies versus the Pacers. James Harden turned the clock back and gave us almost a 40-point triple-double. And then we had the Rockets versus the Thunder clashing off as the two top teams out west. But with all of that said, I walked away most impressed with the Donovan Mitchell fourth quarter against the Boston Celtics. Before we dive into that breakdown, what I do want to talk about is the matchup between these two teams. Because last night during the game, I remember tweeting, like, give me 7 of these, please. Like, please give me 7. And both sides were quickly there to remind me, as if I didn't already realize or know, there was no Derek White. There was no Jaylen Brown. Porzingis didn't play in that first game where the Celtics won by 3. I don't think Dean Wade played or Isaac Okoro. And my response to that is this. With the league that we have today and so many injuries and load management and guys just resting in the big picture, which is the playoffs, and I'm understanding of that, we're probably never going to always have teams be 50-50, 100-100, even. It's just very hard to get that. But what we have to still do is assess what's in front of us. And last night, though they didn't have Jaylen Brown and Derek White, the Celtics still put themselves in position to be able to win this game. They had a 12-point lead going into the fourth quarter. I think Peyton Pritchard gave you a 19-point performance. And the Cavaliers came out and they competed, and Donovan Mitchell took this game over. So again, do I think the Celtics are much better with Derek White and Jaylen Brown, and their chances of winning this game increase with those guys on the floor? No doubt about it. But there is nothing for me or you or anybody else to do but to evaluate what we see. And a lot of the stuff I'm going to talk about in Donovan Mitchell's breakdown is more so just the matchup and the chess game that could be played. There's a game inside of the game with these two teams and the two head coaches behind both teams. You look at the Celtics, they have the size, they have the shooting, they have the versatility, they have experience, they have depth now. You look at the Cavaliers, they check a lot of the same boxes. They have explosive scores, they have defense, they have size, they have specialists, they have depth. You know what I mean? So that is the part that makes this super intriguing. It's the chess match that Kenny Atkinson and Joe Mazzulla can have. A lot of the different matchups where you talk about the star power and the scoring power of a Jason Tatum. Well, you also have that with a Donovan Mitchell. You talk about a Jaylen Brown, and then you talk about, Darius Garland or Evan Mobley and Porzingis and Jared Allen, like the Ty Jerome versus Peyton Pritchard. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many different parallels and similarities that these teams have with their distinct differences that would make it a very intriguing series to me. And that's all I was saying. So with all of that being said, let's dive into the Donovan Mitchell fourth quarter takeover. So the first thing I'm going to say before we dive into the breakdown is, obviously I'm using screenshots because if I use clips, the NBA and YouTube will come and eat me alive. But outside of that, because the screenshots would just work just fine, one of the things, as I said earlier, was the chess match that we would get in a series. And when you look at the Boston Celtics, and if you're familiar with the Boston Celtics, especially off of their last championship run in last year's postseason, you know that one of their strengths defensively is being able to switch, right? You have Drew Holiday, Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum. All of those guys can switch. And then behind them, you're going to have a Porzingis or a Horford. And those guys can hard hedge, drop coverage, or whatever. And a lot of times in the finals, when they did the screen, Porzingis dropped and a defender slid over to take away the power of the pick and roll for Luka, and he just guarded the basket essentially, because their communication, their length, their quickness, their aggression, it's always on key. That was one of the most impressive things to watch about the Celtics. Now, Kenny Atkinson, like the rest of the NBA knowing this, he looks at this floor right here and says, there is no Derek White. There is no Jaylen Brown, and in this moment, there is no Jason Tatum. There's Drew Holiday and a bunch of guys who are really good team defenders because of the scheme that the Celtics have, but individually, a lot of them are probably below average or average at best, and I have a superstar scorer here. So what Kenny Atkinson does is says, we're going to take advantage of y'all switching everything, and as you can see by this screenshot and a lot of the others that I'm about to show, this is basically what kind of kick-started the avalanche of points and takeover for Donovan Mitchell in the fourth quarter. And they simply said, hey, we're going to set a high ball screen and we're going to get Drew Holiday off of Donovan Mitchell. And not only that, we're going to allow Donovan Mitchell to now have favorable matchups all over the place. Peyton Pritchard is a favorable matchup. Hauser is a favorable matchup. Drew Peterson is a favorable matchup. And you damn sure don't want Porzingis on the island with Donovan Mitchell at all. We'll take anybody who isn't Drew Holiday guarding him. And it worked to perfection. This first possession, he was able to get Peyton Pritchard on him. He quickly went at Peyton Pritchard, drove on him. It ended up being a step back mid-range jump shot over him for Donovan Mitchell's first 2 points in his first scoring possession of the fourth quarter. Now, the next scoring possession, you see different screener, different player involved on the defensive end outside of Drew Holiday, but it's almost the same identical high screen, same side of the floor, going to his left on the left side, and it's high. I'll go back to the first one. You see it's not as high in the screenshot because they're now recovering from the screen, but it's still high, and you're still getting the same exact theory and target, which is to get Drew Holiday off of him. And so in this possession, same thing. Sam Hauser, as good as he can be as a team defender, does not want to match up with Donovan Mitchell, and nobody in the gym wants to even see Sam Hauser guard Donovan Mitchell because you know the result, and that's exactly what happened. They switch. Donovan Mitchell hit him with an in-and-out, step-back three-point shot. It was money, and now he already has 5 points in the fourth quarter. On this possession, it's the same thing, different people, but now you get a screen from Okoro. On the play before this, they also had a screen, and it allowed Drew Peterson to be guarding Donovan Mitchell. But luckily for the Boston Celtics, and unfortunately for the Cavaliers, it turned into a charge. That was the turnover that Donovan Mitchell had in this fourth quarter. Basically, the only mistake he made because he didn't miss a shot. He had a charge where he drove at Drew Peterson, and contact was made, and they called it a charge and whatever. Now, this possession, you get a screen from Isaac Okoro, and Hauser is switched on to Donovan Mitchell again. And Donovan Mitchell does a snatch back into a step back three-point shot, and he makes it a 2-point game, which is now 97-95 after this three-point shot. Same thing. This is like one of the most beautiful plays right here. Love this play. Now, after Donovan Mitchell goes on his run, you see it's a 3-point game. They entered the fourth quarter down by 12. Donovan Mitchell has been virtually unstoppable. He's doing everything. He's making all the shots. You got Jason Tatum and Al Horford out there on the floor now. Darius Garland and Jared Allen and Mobley is out there. I wish I could play this clip because you would be able to see the genius of it and why I actually wanted to dive into this, because I think a lot of times we watch games and we're seeing guys just put up these points, and it's like, man, they're some of the best players in the world, of course, but it's the mental game and the setups and the chess that's being played, and it's the game within the game that, like, a lot of people, I think, miss. So now after Donovan Mitchell has made, I don't know how many buckets it's been now. It's hard for me to keep up. He scored 20 points in a quarter. It's hard for me to keep up with the amount of points that's been scored at this point. But I just know he's on a heater at this point, right? Because we've seen the last 4 or 5 possessions and what the Cavaliers are doing, which is just simplifying it. We're giving Donovan Mitchell the ball. Y'all space out the floor, and we want X, Y, and Z to set the screen so we can get this switch. They prefer the screen with Porzingis at this point, now that they made their substitutions. Drew Holiday is aware that what's been happening. We usually switch, but right now we're not going to do that because he's on a heater and we don't have our regular personnel out there. So if you can tell by the image of this screen, the reason Drew Holiday is so lost is because he is, in his mind, focused, driven, and determined to get over this screen so that there won't be a switch. He's trying to take away the switch. Donovan Mitchell, in his chess game mindset, knows that, hey, they're going to want to take away the switch now. I've eaten them alive in the last 4 or 5 possessions. I'm cooking. This was a 12-point game. We're now down 3. I got the juices flowing. Nobody can stop me out there. They're not going to allow me to get the switch now. There's no way that we have to anticipate that. So what Donovan Mitchell does, which was so beautiful, he sets Drew Holiday up. Drew Holiday is mentally prepared. He's fighting over the screen. Donovan Mitchell rejects the screen. He rejects it for the first time. He rejects the screen, and it's at the perfect time. It's like just perfect. This is why I use the word masterclass, because what happens is he's so focused on fighting over. Porzingis is comfortable in the drop because he already has communicated with Drew Holiday. I'm sure that you're going to fight over. I'll give you your space, and we'll negate the screen. Now Porzingis is out of place. Drew Holiday is turned fully. There's no way he's going to be able to recover and turn around as superhuman as he is. He's just out of this play. Donovan Mitchell, who's already been on a heater, is now walking into another wide open three-point shot, probably the best look he got all quarter, if I'm being honest. And it's now a tie game at 1-on-1, 1-on-1. Celtics come down. Jason Tatum misses the layup, doesn't get the foul. So Cavaliers gain possession. As Donovan Mitchell is bringing up the ball, you can't see it in the screenshot, but in the clip, if you go back and watch, he points and tells Evan Mobley, come set that screen, and he's telling to set it high. You can see him signaling to get the screen. So again, like some of the other screenshots I just showed you early in his fourth quarter, left side, extremely high. This is probably the highest screen he got because it was in transition. So Evan Mobley did a great job of setting it high. And the reason it's important to set this ball screen high in this position is because Al Horford, Donovan Mitchell coming down head full of steam against anybody is not a sight to see. Any of these defenders. But when you start talking about Porzingis and Al Horford and the bigs, they damn sure don't want to see Donovan Mitchell coming down with a head full of steam, with his in and out step back ability. That's just not what they want to see, right? So now you're able to set the screen. Again, you can tell by Drew Holiday's body, he's trying to fight. But this is a magnificent screen from Evan Mobley, and it allows Donovan Mitchell to get downhill. Drew Holiday is too far behind to recover. Al Horford has to step up and take the assignment, and obviously he cannot do that. Donovan Mitchell drives on him and ends up getting a floater right here in this area, which was perfect because if he went any deeper into the paint, Porzingis ended up helping off of Isaac Okoro and was ready to make the block and the play on the ball. And I showed you there, you can see it developing. He's already looking Porzingis and ignoring Isaac Okoro as he's going to fade out. He's going to drive, stops at around this area and floats it from there because if he got here, it's probably a block shot. And that's just the magnificence of this fourth quarter from Donovan Mitchell. And I'll continue to give my credit to the Cleveland Cavaliers because I felt like Donovan Mitchell obviously was the big driving force in them, blowing away this 12-point deficit and being able to pull out this win. But I just love right now the clicking and the chemistry that the Cleveland Cavaliers have. And watching this game again, knowing that there's no Derek White, knowing that there's no Jaylen Brown, I'm still walking away extremely impressed, and even more impressed than I've been with their start to the season. The game they lost to Boston, I was impressed with that game. They only lost by 3, and Darius Garland really couldn't throw a rock into the water. And this performance, I saw a lot of just instant clicking. There was a specific play where I think Isaac Okoro got a long offensive rebound and immediately tossed it back to Sam Morrell, and he fired for a 3. And the sequencing and how in sync that was, it just lets me know that they're on a different connection. They're on a different wavelength as a team because things are just seamless. It's just instinct. And these are players who don't always play. They've never been known to be those type of players. There's no shot at Isaac Okoro or anything like that, but he's never been known as this, incredible playmaker that's just seeing the floor and seeing things develop before it happened. But that play was so instinctive because it's a comfortability and a certain chemistry that they're all playing with right now. Even the last possession to close the game where Isaac Okoro was able to find Evan Mobley as he's attacking on a slip, he dumps it off to Mobley for the game-sealing dunk. Like, these plays are so instinctual, and it's just flowing for them at such a perfect instinct that I'm loving what I'm seeing. And to me, that represents more of what this team is and what they can be, more so than the wins and losses. It's very impressive to start off the season undefeated and do those things. That's always nice to see. But we've seen plenty of teams have great starts to seasons and be number 1 seeds when nobody thought you could be and all of that. But these other things that don't show up in the wins and losses, that don't necessarily show up, in a direct way in the box score, those are the things that leave me impressed and makes me more of a believer for what they can potentially do in the postseason. I've always thought this team was talented. I've always thought this team was going to have the type of year that they're having, not this type of start where they were undefeated and, basically keeping up with the Celtics. But when I looked at them last year and saw all of the injuries that they have and saw that they only lost 2 less games than they did the year before where they won 50 games, I'm like, oh, man, as long as they're healthy, they're going to have another 50-win season. But the way that they're playing right now, not only are they going to have another 50-win season, this team really can be a force out east. When I first started seeing how they started the year, I asked myself and I asked some of my friends and even the Numbers on the Board podcast, I said, hey, as good as the Cavaliers are playing, wouldn't it kind of feel funny like they're a championship team? Like, not to discredit them, but when you're looking at them, it's like, are they a championship team? Them? Like, wouldn't it be crazy if they were really in the finals? No. A game like last night makes that wipe out of my brain. This is a team, as of right now, when they're playing the way that they played and looking how they looked, they definitely can be a team in the NBA Finals. They have the defense, they have the size, they have the chemistry, they have the guard play, they have the outbursts of scoring, they have the specialists, they have depth. They're instilling confidence in guys early, like Karis LeVert, and then the George Niang. Like, those guys always have been a part of rotations and competitive teams, but they're putting more confidence in them. But then that confidence is trickling down into a Ty Jerome, right? Like, Ty Jerome having the confidence that he has right now is only going to help you way down the line when we talk about April and June. It's the same thing with the Celtics. They've allowed Sam Hauser, they've allowed Peyton Pritchard, these guys to have a crazy amount of confidence coming off their bench. So now Peyton Pritchard goes into these real games next to Jason Tatum, next to Brown, next to Drew, and he's having 19-point fourth quarters, 21-point fourth quarters. And to me, that's what makes a team that's already strong even stronger, is when you now have everybody on that type of time and everybody's on that type of confidence and everybody's clicking uniformly. And that's kind of the feeling I got from the Celtics. So I walk away from this game thoroughly impressed. That was a fourth quarter masterclass, and I would love to see more of that. And I just want to highlight that because a lot of times players like Donovan Mitchell, on a night like last night, so many different things happen, and these type of performances kind of get lost in the shuffle, rightfully so, because there's just so much going on. I told myself I was going to identify this, talk about this, and highlight it and give him his flowers because, again, this is just another performance where we can take these things for granted. Where it's like, oh, this Donovan Mitchell cooking. He always been cooking. Remember what he did in the bubble? Like, it's easy to just do that, right? And a lot of times, some of these players, instead of getting the credit and flowers for these performances, we pile up on them when they have the 1 of 7 fourth quarter and the team loses or they blow a lead. So I just want to come out and show some love and give him some flowers, but I also wanted to acknowledge I'm looking at this Cavaliers team as not just like a team on a nice, good start, but, oh, man, the Celtics are still there, so who cares? No. This Eastern Conference is about to be extremely interesting, and, again, as we close out, I don't want to keep dogpiling on them, but it makes me even more a little bit disappointed in the 76ers because if the 76ers are playing at the level and the way that I think and anticipated them to play at, you would throw in them, the Celtics, the Cavs, the Knicks. That top 4, right? Oh, man, this would have been a bloodbath. So hopefully, and I don't want to disinclude the Bucks because the Bucks are on a 6-game winning streak. So I got to throw them in there too. That would have been 5 teams that would have been like, whew. Because I don't care how slow the Bucks are starting, seeing this version of them with these last 6 games. We'll talk about them on this channel in the next day or so. It reminds you how scary they can be, and to not be fooled by them and their seeding. Because they still have Giannis, Dame, and they're still really, really good players in this league who can win you a series. But that's all for me in this video. Y'all let me know y'all thoughts for this performance from Donovan Mitchell. 20-point fourth quarter. They take away a Celtic 12-point deficit, and they end up winning this game. Again, Celtics didn't have Jaylen Brown and Derek White. Cannot wait to see the next matchup, and I hope both teams are as healthy as possible so we can start to see more and more from this matchup. As always, I appreciate you guys. See y'all soon. I'm out. Peace.